Okay.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Let's have a roll call.
Agnes Fornarski, Chairman.
Present.
Peter Hahn.
Here?
Ed Madden.
Present?
Dana Seifertson.
Here.
Joe Moscow, Recording Secretary. And Dr. John Kamish is attending the Strategic Decisions meeting at the moment.
Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of November 10th, 2016.
I move that we approve the minutes as instructed.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great.
Opposed?
All right.
You gotta do that.
Okay, old business, update on workday schedules. So, our next workday will be this Sunday at the slough. And, hopefully the ice is frozen on the slough because we have a sled that we can use to carry the wood around. We'll have a brush pile burn. And there are invasive shrubs there that some of the neighbors had issues with removing because they're really pretty, but they aren't very invasive. And so they have recently reached out to me and said it's okay, that they're fine, that they understand that they're invasive, and they're completely okay with removing those. And I mentioned that we have native shrubs that we can replace those with, and so we'll be doing that.
The other part of that plan for that day is to go over into the little finger on the north end and that whole north shore as it's on the east side, and take out the invasive buckthorn from standing on the water so that we can
Nice.
very easily get to the shoreline, and then we'll put it in the sled and pull it across the slough
And some of the stumps,
over
too.
to the burn pile.
There's a lot of Chinese elms there too. They go?
Yep.
They're
Small
like-
ones maybe. I
Okay.
don't know about the big ones.
Okay.
About, yeah.
We'll get whatever we can.
Yeah, we'll get whatever we can. Some of those might be good to, but that would be we could ask Public Works if we could work together with them to drop maybe one or two in the water with ice for the turtles.
Peter, do they have a good sized shredder, chipper?
I would imagine they do. I
Okay.
don't know the availability of it though. We'd have to reach out
Yeah.
to Public
You remember
Works.
they chipped up all that buckthorn before we started
Oh,
burning
okay.
it.
All right.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I'm
the
assuming
entire
they still
summer.
have that
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah.
We'd have to check on the availability.
Yeah. And then for the rest of the winter work days, it'll be sort of between Morava, the slough, and Heron Pond. We'll discuss that later on when we get to the individual ones. Any questions about any of that, or comments, suggestions?
Can you say that comment again about the turtles? You said the Chinese elms, you could put it in the water for the turtles
so the-
to rest
to
on or
bask.
to bask
To
on?
bask,
I've
yeah,
seen
so
that.
when the ashes died last year, we asked Public Works to drop a couple of those trees into the water right before the prescribed burn that we did in the spring. And the very next day, there's like 12 turtles basking on those branches. Like, they really like that habitat. And so those Chinese elms are invasive as well, and there's a few of them around the slough. And so if we could remove them by dropping them into the water, that would provide habitat for the turtles and at the same time getting rid of the invasive species. But some of them are larger and would require maybe a little bit more help from from Public Works. But we'll get the small ones though, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Next is the seed greenhouse program. So we collected over 110 pounds of seed this year, which is a record, definitely a record. Last year we collected like 50 pounds. So
Peter, I think,
Peter collected
half
most of it.
Mhm.
Oh,
And then 50 pounds of seed was purchased. Of that, 30 pounds was for Morava and for Heron Pond. So it's all kept separate. I have like spreadsheets. I didn't bring one today, but next time I will, and maybe we could even put it on the screen. But I have spreadsheets of every single species and how many ounces is collected exactly. Everything's been weighed, processed, and also the distribution of where those seeds go. Because we have to keep everything straight since there's so many projects and the funding is coming from different sources. So, some of the money is directly from the Park District for Heron Pond, some of it is from Morava, and it comes from grant money. Some of it was collected by us, but that can be used to augment all of the sites. So it really needs to be kept very straight. And then some of the seed is from Fermilab and from Poplar Creek, and they're special seeds, so we have to keep that separate as well. So I have all of that under control. Everything's stacked away.
Can you give us some timelines on where and
Yes.
going forward?
So right now, what we did also is we have these experimental trays that we're doing, especially for the special seed. So seeds normally need a stratification process, and whether that's stratification just means that they need to undergo the conditions for germination that they need. So almost all seeds need cold stratification, so you have to keep them in a cold place. Some seeds need cold, moist stratification, so you have to keep them cold and moist. And so we have some of these seeds in silica sand that has been moistened, and they're in little baggies, and they're in the refrigerator at 35 degrees. We have an entire refrigerator dedicated to seed. And then, so what we also did is, studies have shown, or people have, I've discussed this many times with people, but you can either put them directly in pots and put them outside, or keep them under the same conditions, which the Morton Arboretum does, and put them in the pots in the refrigerator already. And so we have those 3 different experimental situations for all the seed.
And it's all
Special seed.
documented
Everything's documented.
vis-a-vis the species, so that
Right.
when we're done, we look at the results, we'll have a historical record.
Right,
So
we'll
we'll know
need to,
what to do next year.
Good.
we can
going
see
forward.
that 90% germinated with this method, and 85% germinated with this method, and only 10% germinated with this method. And certain of the species I already have experience with, so I know for sure. So, like for instance, the gentians. Last year I tried that, so I tried to moist stratify it and then just cold stratify it, and none of the cold stratified ones germinated, all of the moist stratified. So I'm not even gonna try that, you know,
Sure.
so we're only gonna try the cold moist stratification, but we're gonna try it the 3 different ways and see what happens. It might be an interesting thing too, if we haven't, with our intern this summer, to get that result, and we might be able to do something with it, like a study or a
Mhm.
pamphlet or something. Is that-
Hopefully, we want to write a book.
no, that information is not readily available. There are some germination codes, and species have been assigned germination codes of what they require, but those are really sort of old and outdated, and there's not really a good source for that, so we'll do our own experiments. Yeah, so, okay, and as far as the timing, first week of March, usually, end of February, first week of March, they go in the greenhouse. We have 3 greenhouses. One is, the winds really took a toll on it, so we'll try to fix it up. If not, we'll have 2 greenhouses, which is more than enough. We seeded 20 pounds of seed already at Morava, where the turf grass was killed in the fall at our last work day. So that was a special mix just for that area. And there was 53 species, I believe, that was seeded there. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a nice rain
Yeah.
and a freeze after that too,
Yeah.
so.
So you wanted the
Off
right
to a great
conditions
start.
too. So you want really good soil seed contact, and so right before rain or hard freeze, right before snow, that's good because then it really compacts the soil down. And we also use rakes to rake it into the soil a little bit. So that really,
Good.
yeah. Any questions?
What was the seed that went down in that area? I wasn't part of that at that time.
Which species, or
Yeah,
they were
species.
mostly savanna species or partially shade, some prairie species, a little bit more open sun and partial shade
Okay.
species. So we had,
We had a spreadsheet too, if you want.
so we
Okay.
have a spreadsheet for that, I can provide you with
No,
that.
it's just,
There's like 8 different types of grasses
Okay.
and a lot of forbs. It was with the money for the grant, but then it was also augmented with the seed we collected too. So we still have, we've ordered from the grant, and I have the exact amount, about over $3,000 for seed and plugs for the grant. And we could have done more, but we wanna wait for the bridge, and see how much that'll come out to be. We'll talk about that later too.
Now, quick question on the seed placement. The ice storm that we had today, I assume that's also beneficial
Yes.
as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, you want
Okay.
that.
Definitely, yeah. There's many different times to be able to put down seed. You don't want it to put down seed when it's very dry and you have a high wind and just blow all over the place. Or just on ice either, just like hard ice, unless something's covering it or there's a snow covering it
Okay.
or something, hold in place. Okay. Any more? Anything? Comments? No? Okay. And next is the library per district programs.
Okay, we have coming up on the 26th of January, John McCabe and Kristen DePra, and they are going to be presenting the video that the Cook County Forest Preserve did on their 100-year anniversary. So it's a documentary on the institution, and they're going to give a preamble talk together. They're going to show the video, and then they're going to Q&A afterwards. They're both really excited about doing it. They're a lot of fun. I mean, you guys all know John from Burning and stuff, so that'll be a really good time. We have Abigail Darby Lewis on the 28th doing her climate talk, 28th of February, and Doug Tyrone on the 19th of April is doing his Monarchs presentation. Now, as far as the Park District programs, the only thing we have scheduled for spring this year are 2 bird walks. So far, out of all the classes we've done, they're the only 2 that have been successful, and they're wildly successful, and they're really entertaining, because those 2 guys are just a hoot, and the birds have absolutely cooperated, man. It's like, now we have bald eagles, so. I mean, we're dialing up kingfishers on cue last time, so. If we want to do any additional or different types of classes for the spring
Spring or
and
summer.
summer, then we need to get proposals into Marcy soon, and they will be outside of the program. So it won't be on the hard copy program. It will be things that we did, like with the tree guy, where we actually added it and then we did our own PR on it. So at this point, if any of you guys have any ideas for classes and you want to take that ball and run with it, that would be a welcome idea. But at this point, we're just both so busy that it's pretty much
It's a lot of
impossible.
work to get it
It's a lot of
organized,
work
and
to
then
get it
people don't
organized.
sign off.
I would certainly help with the organization part and the PR part, but to come up with a proposal and all the rest of that stuff, if you guys have anything you want to champion, then we'll certainly entertain the possibility of doing that.
I would say we've got a lot on our plate as is,
Mm-hmm.
so.
We really do.
I think another thing that, for the summer, and there's still time for that for the summer, right?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
sure.
Those walks that we had, like a slough walk,
Mhm.
prairie walk, we
Mhm.
just sort of walk around, talk about things and issues, and Isa Redlinski could come out and discuss things. Those were a little attentive.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something to consider, and that's easier to organize.
Well, I think the prairie is, for instance, prairie walks, I think are gonna be a much easier sell this year with, given how that thing is just gonna take off.
Yeah, I think
So.
so too. Yeah, every area I think would be,
Mhm.
that's something to consider.
Mhm.
It's probably the easiest
Mhm.
one to do. And we can
Okay.
make those free, cause Isa's.
That's all I got on it,
Okay,
so, we'll move on.
alright. Hey,
Oh, do we have to register with the library for the specific talks, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And the links are on the website, on the individual pages. So you just follow the link and it'll take you automatically
calendar,
where you
go to
register.
calendar.
We definitely, the PR on that will start going out tomorrow for John and Chris's talk. But we need to do the same old, word of mouth, and Peter will get stuff to you on it.
E-news,
Yeah,
just send it to me and I'll go in.
yeah, I'll get it to you by tomorrow morning, so it'll
Okay.
get into e-news tomorrow, okay?
Okay. Then next, the progress reports from the work sites. So Heron Pond, so the park district hired a big crew, that removed all the buckthorns from around Heron Pond. It took them a week, right? Yeah, but it's all gone, so it would have been a project for us for 2 winters, so
Mhm.
it's all gone. And so next would be to seed the area and to stabilize the shoreline too. And the shoreline in certain places is okay, the slope is fine. Other areas, it's a really sharp drop off, it might be more difficult and it might need some sort of regrading there. But we'll try to focus on the areas that we can do. But one of the things that we can do to improve the success is to put down erosion control blankets. And so the park district funded that and, provided the money for that, and those are in my garage waiting. Cause we thought there would be an opportunity in the fall when the ground still wasn't frozen, but then we just got a big winter. The temperature dropped and now the ground is frozen and they need to be sort of pounded in with,
Yeah, I would say as far as
nails.
work days go, the first one where we have ground that isn't frozen, we wanna get that in
yeah,
there.
right, and then we could seed, put the erosion
Right.
control blankets on, and then in the spring and the summer, there's plugs that have also been ordered by the park district with their own funds for plugs and seed. So we'll put down the seed that they gave, augmented with our seed that we collected, cause there's some species that would benefit from what we collected, and we collected a lot of it. And then we'll have plugs too of our own, and then the plugs, most of the plants that will be coming in the spring, summer, that the park district ordered are aquatic and semi-aquatic plants, so really nice showy species in the water.
We probably need to do carp fencing there too, right?
Yeah, would the residents have an issue with carp?
That was my first thought.
Yeah.
Tell me more, what will it actually look like?
Well, you
It
can
can look
see
like
it at the
anything.
slough, yeah, I mean, it's typically, we have 3-foot metal posts that we drive in about 1.5 feet.
But we want the cheaper version. I mean, they can be anything, it could be sturdier, it could
Sure.
be more aesthetic. That would be the cheapest way to do it.
Okay.
And our carp exclosure, sort of, we have to fix it the second year. And this year it'll probably completely fail, so we'll have to either replace it or just let it go.
I think I have a homeowners association meeting, usually like early February. I haven't
Okay.
heard from them yet.
Mhm.
I'll bring it up
Okay.
then. I don't think it'll be a problem as long as it's
It's
nothing like
temporary.
a big snow fence orange type
No.
thing.
No, it's just
So
slightly
I don't
above
think
the
they'll
water.
mind.
Yeah, it's just a little bit above
I don't
the
think they'll
water.
mind, but I just wanna throw it
Just
past
while the
them.
plants are sort of rooting themselves in, and, cause in the very beginning, they're very fragile, and the carp just, for sure there's carp there, and they just uproot everything, and they
Yeah,
don't
typically
survive.
it's green chicken wire, so it sort of just gets lost.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Yeah.
When would it go down?
Well, we'll
Spring.
go in
Before the
before
carpets
the-
start spawning,
before the plants go into,
Okay.
so March,
yeah,
And then it would stay there through,
for a year and a half.
a year and a half to 2 years.
Mhm. Yeah, till those things are really rooted.
Right.
I don't think it's a problem, but
Yeah.
I'll let you know next month.
So, the erosion control blankets, you know, we're just waiting for the weather to change, and all the seed that will be going down is stratifying, so it's being kept in cold situations. It might not all germinate the first year, but it's okay. And then we'll augment it with plugs, too. So we have a work day where we're seeding, and maybe there's a little tiny strip left of buckthorn that we could take out there. Oh, the other thing is I did reach out, cause there's some, big, large trees that fell into the creek there, and they're damming up. And when we saw it the last work day, they were pretty
Pretty
much
bad.
causing, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did reach out to MWRD and I let them know about it, so hopefully for the next week or two, they'll remove those blockages. They have the machinery for it, they'll just come in and cut everything up and,
Right.
so that's that.
Okay, the Marava Nature Center and the Chipman Design Meetings and the status of all that. We met with our Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, Sam Scobie,
And everybody knows about that.
and yeah, everybody knows about that. We went to Chipman, we introduced ourselves, gave them a quick presentation on the area, gave them some rough dimensions, and then they arranged to come out and have a site visit, which they did on January 4th.
Something like that.
So Agnes took them through, they were favorably, in favor of the, the project, they thought was interesting,
And they're doing this pro bono.
and they're
for
doing
free.
it all pro bono.
All of the planning, all the design for the bridge.
One of the things that came up with, in their questioning was the issues of permits, ADA, and all the rest of that
And
information. And IDNR, so I have been working on that, and I have met with Dan Peterson and with our engineer Steve
Perez.
Perez, and they steered me over to the appropriate Illinois agencies. So I've talked to IDNR about permitting, and I was very surprised to find out that they told me they could actually defer to the city of Prospect Heights to issue the permit for the bridge,
Yeah.
which I thought was really fascinating.
But it still has to be applied for.
So
the design.
they gave me an application packet, which we'll be filling out shortly. Part of the application involves the plans for the bridge. They'll take a look at that when it's been submitted and then decide who's going to approve a permit for it. My conversations with the people in Springfield, there's only one person there, about ADA, was that there's really very little in the way of Illinois regulations about hiking trails. And the closest thing they said that there was even remotely connected to it was related to outdoor restrooms
Right,
at
so
park
public
districts.
facilities, you need to be
Public
ADA
facilities,
compliant.
right.
But a trail, and
And
Chipman Design was even saying that they could go back to precedent, and so, I mean, like the Morton Arboretum has trails, and they're not ADA accessible, or Cook County Forest
Right.
Preserves, or park districts, other park districts have trails that are not all ADA accessible, but that's,
Yeah, and there's also another category that gives an exemption of something about unsustainable structures, and so there's some information in there about that, but she really had no clear idea how Illinois law for ADA would impact this, and it was her opinion that this would definitely be federal regulation, would be the ultimate
design.
entity that would say, yeah, you have to do something or you don't. She felt that because it's a hiking trail, that it probably would just be able to go forward. So the one key thing that they said was, the first question she asked is, can you get there from somewhere else? Can you get to the same place that if you cross the bridge, could you get to that point another way? And I said, yes, absolutely, and it's probably easier if you're handicapped. And she said, well, that would probably be okay then.
The
So
other
that
thing
you
was
wouldn't-
enjoying the space. Can you
Right.
enjoy the space from? And
Right.
of course you can, because
Mhm.
just a few feet away, you're above the
Mhm.
area, and it's the same sort of thing.
So I'm really optimistic about the ADA portion, and we'll know more as we get into the qualification process. So we're tied up with a few things right now, and as soon as those are cleared up, should be sometime next week, then I'll be able to dive into this full time. So we should have some answers real quick, and then we'll go back to Chipman, and
In the meantime, they're working on the design plan.
and I think everybody knows at this point, they opened it up to their junior architects and made it a competition. So, and they're looking at suspension bridges, fixed bridges, and the possibility of a recycled bridge. So, and I also did learn that we are in the flood way as opposed to flood plain. So this
Flood zone,
flood zone, right?
we're in the flood, yeah,
Yeah.
floodplain. Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier it's a little bit more forgiving.
Are there parts of this that you could perhaps dole out to each of us that we could help put it together instead of having you do the whole thing?
It's possible. I'll look at that. Because
Well,
I
what
haven't
about
really.
reaching out to ADA, federal, ADA, do you have a contact number?
Yeah,
for someone?
I've got contact
So maybe
information.
someone else can
Sure.
do that,
Mhm. Okay,
if they have time to reach out.
yeah, I've got a name and a number, so if anybody's really interested, then
To do that, to
I
follow.
can give it to you.
They're not.
All right, so that's all I got on, anything else you
Oh.
wanna add about the work that's?
Well, just about the,
Oh, yeah, about the dumping there.
yeah,
We've subsequently learned, by the way, that Peter was the one who stacked all the stones.
Just the stones, yeah.
Because he was going around cleaning up the area and was just consolidating them into piles, so there was no pagan rituals going on there.
Well, I just sent you guys an email that said it
No
looked nicely
sacrifice.
done. So it was
Thank
not
you.
dumped.
That was,
I said it was nicely placed.
Yeah, I did it last year.
It just took us as long to see it.
I think some of the volunteers help too.
Right.
Just only picking up stuff.
Right, but there still is stuff that the contractor left there, and I don't know if we can, maybe sometime this week,
Yeah,
go
just
out
go
and
and take a look.
just
Because
go
it's-
look together.
Because it's a layer of a couple of feet, and there's asphalt and concrete, big chunks that only like a bobcat could have moved there, you know?
Actually, staff moved it there because
Okay.
it was the whirlpool.
Uh-huh,
So they actually moved it from the playground over at School Street when they redid the playground equipment.
yeah.
They took all of that and they brought it over to Gary Morava so they can fill in the whirlpool because we're changing that area into an office.
Okay.
So some of that is left over there and they wanna put it under the culvert. So if you guys wanna meet either tomorrow or next week, I can talk to Dino.
Okay, cool,
Okay,
that'd be great.
alright.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that there's, not only that, but there's like trash that was mixed in with it, like bottles and debris, and then it's all mixed in with like 2 feet of soil, concrete, asphalt, and it just all sort of dumped down there. And it's not easy, I mean, if we had a volunteer work day to try to sort through some of that, but some of that, I mean, that's concrete
heavy.
that's like this big, that
Yeah.
we can't even lift with 30 volunteers.
No.
Can we do Wednesday morning?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Wednesday, what time?
How's 10? How's
Perfect.
8?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, 10 is good.
What is Wednesday?
Or wait, is it good
Sorry.
for,
Yeah, I can-
14?
I was thinking,
18.
where do you
I
want to
don't
do
even
it?
know. What's
Do you wanna do
today?
it?
No, it's
18.
18. Wednesday's 18.
Okay.
I do have one other tidbit to throw in there, visiting Rada.
Oh, yeah.
Carolyn, what's her last name? Starts with Z. From Commonwealth Edison, she's in the publicity department. Had reached out to us for
Christina, who forwarded it
right,
to us.
for photos and explanations and progress reports sort of on the RAVA for their PR
Having like
purposes.
a Facebook page about all of their grant
So
recipients.
we sent
the update.
them 4 folders on their drop on my Google Drive. We sent them flora and fauna, so animals and plants. We sent them before and after pictures of Marava. We sent them pictures of volunteers. And then what was the last one? There's one other.
Well, we sent them a lot of pictures, so they pick and choose what they wanted to put on Facebook for
Yeah,
their
there's
project.
probably 60, 70 photos in there, so.
Just everything from Marava. so
Yeah,
they
they'll have
that.
lots of stuff. Okay.
Alright, next prairie restoration, not sure which prairie, but the seeded prairie, will be burned in the spring by ComEd, we all have talked about that before. And then 40 to 50 pounds of the seed that we collected will be redistributed after the burn because it'll be really good soil seed contact. It'll be flat earth just to seed, so.
We need to reach out to Sarah Race too about setting that burn up.
Right, to make sure that she's, sure. Sarah,
Can you do that?
yes. Okay, SLU. So we'll have our work day. And what else do I want to mention about the SLU? So we'll be burning in the spring. We need
If
to
I
burn.
get the permit.
We have to get the permit, which was 90% done. We just haven't sent it in yet. We have to fix it up and put the maps on, because we have to have maps and the whole application filled out. We're gonna have to do the burn permit though, before we burn, because ours expired in January. It was still okay for the fall burn, but since it didn't happen, we have to get a new burn permit. If anybody has not done the Chicago Wilderness Burn Crew training, it's available at Morton Arboretum on February and March. So February 16th and 17th, it's a 2-day course from 8 to 3. February 25th, and then March 2nd and 3rd. And so, and you can find that on their website too. So if anybody wants to be part of the burn crew, then that would require the 2-day Chicago Wilderness Burn Crew training. Other than that, that's about it. Will be, of course, seeding after we burn. So So we've got 20 to 30 pounds of seed put aside for that too.
How many pounds?
30,
30.
close to 30.
I can tell you too, it's been just absolutely amazing to watch the traffic, the people enjoying the slough all the way through the winter. I mean, every time you look out the window, somebody's on the trail, even though there's a foot of snow there. Last Sunday, there were so many people out on the actual slough itself playing
Ice.
playing hockey or ice skating or walking their dogs. It was just crazy great.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's
many
just
people out
unbelievable.
there.
It's great.
There was and I talked to one of the parents. There was a kid who's a resident of Prospect Heights, who's Czechoslovakian, and he plays hockey, and he's a little kid, and so he brought his entire team there, and they were there from 9 in the morning till the sun went down, and that's all they did. They played hockey. They didn't
Wow.
Yeah,
no breaks, nothing. They just played
It's a lot of
hockey.
the good old days.
It was really
Yeah,
crazy.
good old days, yeah.
Yeah. Really, really nice to see that sort of interaction, even
Yeah.
in the dead
Who
of
needs
winter.
TV?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. And we
It
have
was
a-
better than the Hawks outdoor game.
right, and we have an eagle that was in the paper, so.
You know, if I can say something about that, and I wish John was here. This is an awesome thing, and for anyone at home, it was in the Daily Herald, an article about the American bald eagle at the slough. For John to have done that work and put that effort, it just helped us tremendously with, first of all, credibility to the work that the commission is doing and that it does make a difference. But also to get exposure for what we're doing. I bet you will probably see, maybe not immediately this winter, but I bet you in the spring we'll hear from new volunteers that they saw this and this might have been what prompted them to get involved with us. So even though he's not here, John, kudos to you for doing that, and just awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice, well-written article too.
We did
Very nice.
see him buzzing the slough and the lake. When was it? What day was that? It was like
Tuesday.
Wednesday, Tuesday or
Tuesday or
Wednesday
Wednesday.
morning.
Still around.
Wednesday morning.
Still
It was
around.
Wednesday morning,
Just
yeah.
is a huge bird.
It's
I
got
mean,
to be.
it's unbelievable. But I was standing on the second floor looking out the window, and there he is.
Yeah.
Comes in circles around the slough this way, goes back, and then goes back out over the lake.
And
It's
some
just-
other residents have seen it too.
Yeah, at Tully
Tully
Park.
Yeah, at Tully Park.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but I guess he flew overhead.
Mhm.
I got it.
Yeah. Tully Park too, which is next. So Tully Park, I mean, there's just always people there working. It's really nice. We gave them a little bit of seed that we had collected, and they of course helped to collect too during the work days. And so they put that seed out there in that area, and I think tree fell or something, and they made a brush pile burn. They might be asking us to help them with a burn in the near future. We'll give them a little bit more seed once those mixes are done.
Yeah, Rod took care of the tree that fell,
Okay.
so he cut that up into logs.
Right.
And Wendy's always planning where we
Yeah.
can plant more
Yeah.
seed.
That's great.
They're really awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
anything we give them, it's in the ground that day. It's crazy. It's really nice.
Yeah,
Really good.
yeah. So looking forward to the changes in the spring, the summer, what it's gonna look like over there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to add about that? No. Okay, then let's move on to new business, the budget.
Okay, everybody has a copy. Actually, Peter, I do have an extra one.
Thank you.
Christine, I'll give you one as well, when we're done.
Should take one.
This is our first volley at this year's budget, and I, reached out to all of you for ideas and things that we wanted to get in there. Peter, I had a question for you on the $5,000 matching fee for the Marava grant.
Mhm.
Is that something I saw in your sample? It had credited us as part of our account.
You have, there's two, there's
All right.
4,000 and then, this is going by what I
Right,
gave you
okay.
from last year.
Mm.
You had 4,000, which was NRC,
Right.
then you had the 5,000 matching.
Okay, well,
Which was under
I've
the
left
grant.
it that way on this temporary form here, so.
Does that Was that for last year, the grant, or this year, though, the 5,000?
That's a good question.
Well, this grant here, because it pretty much spans over 2 years.
It does,
Right.
I'll have to talk with.
But your contribution is only 5,000.
right?
Correct.
As is
It's the
the
matching.
budget,
It's
yeah.
5,
But you know
and
what, they
20.
have a different fiscal year.
Yeah.
We passed the resolution in March for 2017.
17. Okay.
So I don't know if that helps.
I'm gonna have
with-
to speak with Stephanie on that because we're March 1st,
Yeah.
or May 1st, to see how we did it last year, or how we did it for the last grant, and
Right.
we'll just do it the same way for this
Okay.
grant.
All right, well,
Sure.
maybe you can tell us then what
Well-
to do with that line item there.
Right.
Sure.
All right.
And the other thing is it's something that can be rolled over, because the grant doesn't have to be completed until 2018. Or do we have to expend funds in the year, in the fiscal year?
Unless, well, I mean, if we put it in now, we put it in for 17-18, the $5,000. That will cover the $5,000 liability that the city has for that grant, because you're gonna finish up in 18.
Yeah.
You have to finish up by 18, or
Right.
within 18.
Mhm.
So that'll at least cover that, so I don't, let me speak with Stephanie on that and see, I'm anticipating the 5,000 that was put in before, that was budgeted, would just carry over to the following year, to this coming up 17-18 budget,
Okay.
so.
All right. The items, we have like 18, basically 18 items on this proposed budget, starting with greenhouse trays at 400. Now, those are the trays that hold all the cells. All of the cells that we bought last year have been cleaned, sanitized, and they're ready to go. So they're ready for action, but these are the carrier trays that carry all the cells.
Right.
Potting soil, we're looking at 125 bags of potting soil at $10 a piece. With a lot of this stuff, Peter, once we know what the budget numbers really are gonna be funded, then we would look to shop that stuff and get the best price we could. On that sort of quantity of 125 pound bags, we ought to be able to do, 125 bags, we ought to be able to do better than $10 a bag.
Yeah.
So that number
And just
mirror.
the calculation, I calculated it, it's 4.5 cents per plant of potting mix that
Correct.
we're using. And
Now,
just so people know, like, a plant normally costs in the, like a nursery, it's like anywhere from $2 to $4 per plant, so.
Just looking at this now, the, what, 10-9-60?
Right.
Um,
So we'd be at 5,960 is what we're asking for.
Last year we
Okay.
got 4.
and then just keep in mind that additional, the additional 5,960 that you're asking for,
Mhm.
on top of that 5,000 for the grant, the
Right.
matching grant,
Mhm.
that 5,960, that's, your money to use however you dictate.
Okay.
That other $5,000 is like their $5,000 and the
Right.
10,000
Oh,
Yeah,
matches.
it's
That's-
restricted to the
Yeah, it's
grant.
restricted,
Only
so,
Colorado,
Yeah, we
right?
understand
Yeah.
it completely.
so I mean, you may wanna, I don't wanna say do 2 budgets, which maybe you may wanna specify that 5,960 that you're asking for,
Mhm.
and,
Just call it an operational budget?
you could do that, or if you know, like, well, we're gonna need X amount, you estimate that you need X amount of bags of potting soil for something that's not gonna have to do with the
With the grant?
with the grant, you know what I'm saying?
I gotcha, okay, so you want us to split
Yeah,
that
to
up?
kind of, just so you're not lumping all the money together.
Yeah, got
Because
it.
we wanna make sure that the money that's for the grant is used for the grant,
Mhm.
but then also that the money that you use for the other, aspect that's not grant related,
Okay,
is used there as well. I'd hate to see any mixing and matching, so,
Mhm.
just so we're all above board.
Mhm.
And you guys get everything that you're, well, if you can never have too much detail when it comes to a budget,
right,
because someone was always gonna ask a question, why do you need an extra 1,000, or what, you're looking for, you're looking for almost $2,000 more,
Mhm.
this year than last year. Why do you need that extra $2,000? You put a detailed budget out, you can tell them, this is why.
right.
This is what we did last year with the 4,000, we need an extra 1,900 this year because we're doing X more,
Mhm.
so.
Right, I mean, basically, we're just, I mean, the difference in this year and last year is we paid for it ourselves.
Yeah, no, and,
Yeah.
and that is something that
Yeah.
needs to be known.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think all these things are self-explanatory. Does anybody have any questions about any of the line items? Okay. Okay, we'll revise this according to those guidelines,
And we'll
thanks.
send it to everybody. to
And we'll
look
send
at.
it out, and
Of
then
course.
at some point, we'll need to approve it. Peter, when do we have to have final budget to you?
When's the next budget meeting? It says,
Couple weeks.
yeah, it's a couple of weeks, so, it's not gonna be until February that they have it, and I think the meeting is gonna be in February, so.
But we
First
should try to
meeting
get
we
it to
start
you
talking.
within 2 weeks.
Sure,
But we wanna make sure that you have a
don't
final,
miss it.
a final budget proposal, before then, so. Only so it's not last minute and
Mm-hmm,
they know exactly where you're coming from.
okay.
And Peter, are you suggesting that they have a grant budget within their total budget?
Two separate.
What,
what you're saying?
the $5,000 really has never been broken down, in the past. It's just a lump sum that the city, matches with the park district. So I'm not really concerned about that as much as I'm concerned about the separate funds,
Mhm.
But it's for-
5960
it's
that
specific,
you're asking
right,
for.
But it's for a specific project, so, and it's for like the Gary Morava Center, so if we know that some of those things are gonna be specifically only used for Morava, or a portion of that is gonna be used for Morava, we could take it out of the grant.
Yeah, I think the
funding.
only area where there's crossover is in the greenhouse trays and the potting soil,
Yeah.
really. Everything
Yeah.
else is sort of
Right.
straight up.
Yeah,
So I would say a portion of that cost can come from the grant. We'll figure out what that is and come up with. I mean, we know how many plugs we put in Morava last year, right? It's close to like 8,000 or something.
mhm,
So if we figure on, 10,000 this year, then it's real easy to come up with those numbers.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll revise that one,
Mhm.
and, we'll get you back a budget then. Based on what you guys see, is there any comments, and does it look good to you guys? I mean,
Actually, it looks excellent. I mean,
Yeah, everything's familiar to us.
pretty,
Yeah,
it's pretty thorough and, I mean, some stuff I'm assuming, we may end up not necessarily doing exactly $50 for
Right.
a $50 item, but
right,
that
Right,
allows
yeah.
some flexibility within the item, line
Would be
item.
39.
well, it's like Peter said too, if whatever money you get, it's up to you how you use it, so we can rearrange those things.
And we're still documenting that
Yes.
as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
It is-
absolutely.
the
right?
receipts and
Yeah.
everything's.
Yeah,
Okay.
in fact, they order everything, so they know exactly.
Yeah,
what
it goes
they've
throughout,
done.
'cause this way you don't pay,
Sales tax.
We-
sales tax.
yeah.
Yeah, we can't go buy something and say, okay, here it is, give me money.
Yeah.
We're trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're spending taxpayer money, which is what this is, then it should go through the city.
Yep.
It should just be procured through the city. It's pretty much any municipality, at least that I know of or that I work for, would do that. So,
Okay. Christina, is there anything the Park District needs from us in terms of documentation, budgets, any of that for the Morava grant? Are we good?
We're good. I
Okay.
didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now,
Don't mind.
we're really holding off too, because we wanna see about that bridge, right? We
Mhm.
don't wanna spend more money,
Mhm.
because we have time to work on Morava. We wanna see how much that bridge is gonna cost, so we don't buy a lot of plants and seeds and then not have money for the bridge.
Right, because we have 18, so we can roll over and get our plants in 18 as well.
Yeah,
So,
we have time. We'll
okay.
get a lot of seed down this year anyway, so.
The next item is summer intern discussion. The Park District has generously funded an intern for us, which we're deeply grateful for. And our anonymous donor has funded another one
This year.
this year. So we will have 2 interns this year, and the amount of work that will get done will be unbelievable.
As well as
Certainly,
education too.
yeah, as well as education. Wanted to get some input from you guys. I mean, it's already time to have the advertising in the Chicago
Environmental Network.
Network
One of the well-known
for that
sites.
position, but you recall last year that we had so many great applicants and so many great, there were 2 or 3 that I could think of that if we would have ended up with them, it would have been a bonus just as much as it was working with Daniela. One of the thoughts that we discussed a couple days ago was the possibility of going back to those people that we were impressed with and seeing if they would still be interested and skip the whole interview process and just say, if you would like to be the intern, we have another position available.
Sure.
Does that make
It
sense to you
saves
guys?
time.
Saves a lot.
Well, I don't know that it's just about saving time either. It's about we know you've identified
Known
quality
commodities,
candidates and
Went through the whole interview
Right. Yeah.
process.
and in fairness to them as well, because you'll know quickly if they're not available.
Yeah.
You know, if things have changed where the summer's not an option for them. But to put them through that again, when we know, especially if you know there's a really good chance you're likely to settle on them,
Mhm,
it's unfair to them too.
mhm,
To make them go through all that again.
mhm.
Not unfair,
Yeah.
it just, I just think it would be beneficial for both us and the candidates.
Mhm. Well, what I was gonna do is go back through the interviews that we conducted. I've got all the paperwork and stuff, so I was gonna go back through that, and there's like 3 or 4 that were of great interest.
I think we made a list at the
Right.
very end
The
of
very
our
end.
top 4 candidates.
Right. So what I'll do is send those out to everybody, and we'll discuss it, and then I think it would be really cool if we could just, you know, make an offer to them and see if they're interested, and then we would know if we have to go open up that interview process and advertising again for the position.
What do you guys think?
I think it's a good
Sounds
idea.
good.
Some of them might not be available.
Yeah,
Right.
I
They're in
think
their
most of
third
them.
or fourth year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
We may have to
You
open
never
it up
know.
anyways, but at least
Right.
explore it first.
You
Absolutely.
never know.
Right, there's also, and this is something we wanted to throw out, see if any of you guys would be interested in trying to pursue this. A lot of colleges have intern programs where the intern doesn't get paid, but the college gives them credit for the work they've done. And wanted to find out if any one of you guys, or John, we'll ask John too, would be interested in pursuing that a little bit and finding out what colleges might have that possibility. And let's take a look at it.
The other thing is, I actually went on the Chicago Environmental Network, and the ads are just started this week, coming out right after January. But they have different prices on there, and so, you know, we got a good response last time. Do we wanna keep it at the $11 an hour? McHenry's offering $9. Do we wanna offer less? Keep it the same? You know, because we can get more work done, or, I don't know. The ones out there right now are $9 an hour.
Mhm.
I don't think we should make it less.
No.
I think it may discredit us a bit.
To make it, yeah.
Mhm.
We could make it 10, too.
No, I was gonna say make it 12.
Oh my gosh. Well, then we run out of money.
What was it last year?
11.
11.
I mean, do you think that made a difference in the quality of the candidates?
Could have, well, no way of
Right.
knowing. No way of knowing.
There are free internships. I mean,
Yeah.
they do an internship for free, you know, it's,
But a lot of times you get what you pay for too.
Mhm.
yes.
You know.
Yeah. When you do that though, I think if you have a paid intern working with an unpaid intern, I think that might be
Yeah,
a
it's
little bit of a
animosity.
problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
That's a good
definitely.
point, Peter.
Yeah.
That's true.
It could be a little awkward.
Yeah,
Right. Right. Didn't think about that one.
yeah.
Unless, though, if it were I mean, essentially our intern is or the paid interns are pretty much full-time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, to have part-time internships though that are unpaid could be a different,
Right. And if
Yeah.
they're getting credits,
Yeah.
because if they're getting credit,
Yeah,
that's worth something too. That's
Sure.
worth
Yeah.
money.
sure.
I
If they
mean,
get
credits cost
credits,
money.
sure, if they get credit hours.
Right. So it's just a matter of what they're getting for the internship. That's a thought.
And then also, finally, last thought on that is, have you guys spend some time thinking over the next week or two about the sort of tasks that you think are important for them this summer. Certainly managing the prairie and the sedge meadow are gonna be really tipped up.
And cutting our grass would not be,
No.
no.
Definitely not. Well,
We'd
Val-
actually like you to stop cutting your grass.
Right. The other thing, now that, since we have 2 interns, we could also stagger them. So we have them, because the programs start and end at different times, so
Yeah.
some blend their program in May and some end in June. And so we can have someone start off earlier, and then the 2 of them work together for a portion, let's say 6 to 8 weeks, and then have someone till the end of the season,
Sure.
which could be very beneficial too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So those are things to consider, especially when we're deciding on the 2. So do we have are we gonna think about it, about the, how much we're gonna pay them? Or do we wanna vote on that, or?
Now, we paying both of them? Or are we?
Yeah, we would definitely wanna pay them both the same rate. I mean,
Yeah.
that could lead to a real problem.
We have the same amount of money for each intern devoted,
Is it the same as last year?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
4,500 each. I mean, it
So
just.
So the
That's
difference
nice.
is the amount of hours we would get.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah. We had 9.5 weeks at 40 weeks, for 40 hours.
40 hours a
Mhm.
week,
For 9.5 weeks.
9.5 weeks, at $11 an hour.
Mhm.
That money worked out well last year?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, did the candidates that were interviewing last year, were they aware of the pay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, that might be a little
Yeah.
awkward saying, well, we were paying 11 last year, but now it's down to 9. Especially if we wanna reach out to
Yeah, I
some
wouldn't go as
quality
low as 9.
candidates.
Yeah.
I mean.
You're talking more like $10 to get,
I'm just opening it for discussion. That's just what I saw on the network.
yeah.
It's like what,
Well,
it
there's-
amounts to like about an extra week or something?
Are we meeting, I mean, do we know, is that in line with the new Cook County minimum wage?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's,
See, some of the $9 ones, are those in different markets?
That McHenry County posted that.
Yeah,
That's probably, might be different, right? There's a-
it can be,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, certainly something out of the Chicagoland region could be a factor too. My gut is to keep it the same.
Okay.
As tempting as it is to try and get extra hours in, but
Okay. But we should
Yeah,
look
I-
into the
I,
credit.
I think the 11 is,
Okay.
keep it the same for me. I think
Yeah.
that would be.
So you're saying the alternative is to give them credit hours as opposed to pay?
Mhm.
But we
well, that's in
check-
addition.
No,
That's
no,
not
there
in
are,
all-
there are
Right.
college, I mean, all of those sort of programs are driven through a college.
Right.
And so the
Mhm.
college, we would be interacting with the college, and they would set it up with you to have an intern that would only get college credit for the work they would do,
Right.
Correct, not pay.
not pay
Not pay.
for it.
Right, that's
No
what I
pay.
meant.
But they would be in addition to our 2 paid interns.
Oh,
Whether
oh,
this year or
right.
the next,
Right.
is something
Yeah.
we should maybe look into, because
Got it.
it's a way to be
Okay.
able to get more.
Yeah.
And
We know that the
Build the
anonymous donor will not be funding
Next
again
year.
next year.
Yeah.
'Cause
He's moving by state.
They're moving, so.
yeah, so.
It's not a volunteer?
Oh, we shouldn't say.
No,
It's
not
anonymous.
gonna, it's anonymous.
It's anonymous, but you know.
Oh, yes.
Somebody had to take the money from them.
We'll tell you later.
We have to take the
I
money.
thought you knew already. We'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be publicly anonymous.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so we've decided that it's 11. We've decided that we're gonna reach out to the candidates then, right? To
Yep.
the top 3. We'll go
Mhm.
through, because it was Peter and Christina that were involved, and you and I in the process, so we'll just run through our candidates and send an email to make sure we've got those top 3 or 4 that we're gonna send the emails to before we do that.
Mhm.
We'll send it to them. Based on the response, we'll decide whether to put the ad in the paper, and we'll all just update on the progress of that. Yeah?
Right.
Okay.
One quick question on that to Christine. Is that in line with what the Park District might pay?
It's similar. You asked a
Okay.
question before about the minimum wage.
Yeah,
We're sort of struggling at the park district because some of the positions do not pay that minimum wage number, that $10.
sure,
We're actually exempt because, we're a park district.
okay,
But we are a bit concerned because if a young person knows they could go to Starbucks
Yeah.
and make the $10, they're not gonna wanna be a lifeguard for
attracting quality,
$9.25.
yeah,
So we know that we don't have to, but we know that it's going to create a competitive situation. So I
Mhm.
would prefer that this position is 10 or 11.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
okay.
alright, so we got that then.
Mhm.
Moving along, the meeting schedule of 2017.
I may have a conflict on the 9th. I may have to attend a training
Okay.
class that evening.
Are these typically, I saw the schedule, but they're every other, the second Tuesday of each
Second,
month?
second Thursday.
Or Thursday, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yes,
If we get close to that, you gotta move it, then we'll move it.
yeah.
But, you know, you could always hold it because I could watch the recording
Oh, if we
and
have a
take the
quorum.
minutes that way.
Sure, I mean, if
Okay.
whatever you want, if you wanna be there. then we
You can always cancel and hold a special meeting.
Right.
Okay, so as we get closer to that, I think one of the questions was whether to keep the December.
Right. Should we
I still say no.
I'm in agreement with that. It's just such a busy time.
Yeah.
It
You
is
know,
a
and
busy
if-
time, and it's a little bit of a break, and
Yeah.
there's not too much
Yeah.
going on other than seed
Yeah.
processing and sorting and things.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll keep it off.
I would say if
December.
there were really pressing issues
Sure.
at that point in time,
We
then
could
would
always
it.
do a special meeting,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
anyway,
especially,
right?
otherwise,
Peter, we can always add a special meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If we
So
need
for
You
to.
now-
can cancel any meeting,
Yeah,
you can add any special meeting.
okay.
We just, as long as we stick to that 48-hour rule.
okay, great. So then next is the Morton Arboretum Woodland Stewardship Program filming, which occurred on January 6th, 2017. You guys were all aware of that. It was very, sort of short notice, it was like within a week. Kurt reached out to me and said, hey, we wanna come out and film you. They had mentioned something about it before, but nothing was really set in stone, and so then all of a sudden, you know, he reached out to me on Monday. I guess his email, the email he meant to send me didn't reach me until like Tuesday, and then on Tuesday I found out that they wanted to come and film on Friday. And he wanted to set up a work day with volunteers to film too. So we reached out to our volunteers, and it was a great surprise. We had like 10 people show up for the volunteer work day, which was filmed and taped. They were there from 8 to 12, and basically the whole point of this was that they are expanding their woodland stewardship program, which is an amazing program which I have finished. It took me 2 years to finish it. It's just an amazing, like they have 18 weeks of woodland stewardship, prairie conservation management, wetland. It's like a program that usually takes like a year or two to complete. It's really great. It used to be part of their their certificate program. They're no longer doing certificate program, but they still have this, and they're expanding it to include like online courses and videos. And so this is to promote that program. It's going to be a short clip. They said they're probably going to make 3 movies out of it, about 5 minutes each, and they are trying to wrap it up before the Wild Things conference so that they could play it at the Wild Things conference as well. So they interviewed me for an hour, and then we went outside and we seeded a little bit. So they showed the slough, and then they interviewed volunteers individually, and then they're gonna edit all of that. It's gonna come back as myself, I'm gonna be in the video, and then 2 other stewards from the Morton Arboretum, and then they're gonna have guest speakers such as John McCabe and Stephen Packard is gonna be another person that they're gonna have talking in the film. So it's really great.
That all
What
came
part of
about
that?
as a result of the talk that she gave on the stewards' night they had out at the Morton Arboretum.
They had an orientation night, and they asked me to come and talk about my experiences with the Woodland Stewardship Program, and it was a really nice sort of photo session where I talked, and then we showed a lot of photos about the things that we're doing, and sort of everything that's going on over here is really a direct result of having finished that program.
Yeah.
So
Are they gonna provide copies of those videos for the
Mhm.
Natural Resources
Yes.
Commission to use at their
Definitely.
Yeah,
discretion?
Patrick
Yes.
already asked if we could put them on CLTV.
The
They
antennas
said
always
yes.
go up.
yeah, definitely. So that's
Okay.
that.
So that brings us to the Wild Things conference, and Agnes and I learned about a week ago that we were actually being invited to present at the conference, which is pretty wild. It's a wild thing. We submitted a proposal last summer because everybody, from other restoration organizations were saying, you guys gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. So on the spur of the moment whim, we put a proposal together and sent it off, and lo and behold, it was accepted, so we are speaking at the Wild Things Conference. And the title of the presentation is From Grassroots to Deep Roots, Small Organizations with Big Ambitions. And so what we wanted to do was to go there and, we as an organization have had tremendous success. There are programs that have been around for years that have not had the success that we've had with getting grants and budgets and working with volunteers and complete integration with the city and all the support from the city and Park District. It's been an
Community
incredible
members,
ride.
neighbors.
And so when people look at that and they go, my God, how do you, if
I
we
want
had,
to do that.
if we had
you
a
know?
dollar for every time we've been asked, how did you guys do that? We probably wouldn't be sitting here. But so what we wanted to do was to go share that experience. Well, first of all, to put Prospect Heights on the map. That's certainly part of it. And to highlight the city and the Park District. But also to generally try to inspire people by reviewing over the course of the 2 years we've been in existence, all the things that we've done and all the things we've accomplished. All the highlights, the grants, the internships, the volunteers, the partnerships that we enjoy with so many other organizations, and all the giving and taking back and forth with them, all of our outreach programs, and the Nature Speaks, the working with schools. We're also going to give an assembly to 200.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay,
Let's back up and then we'll.
And then all of our key projects that we're doing in the city. So we wanted to start with first of all, giving a little bit of the history of us, and then talking about those things just to highlight them, and then say, here's how we did it. And so, it starts with defining a mission statement and assembling an administrative team, getting people that are qualified.
Who wants to be? We'll maybe ask if anybody else wants to be involved in this and
Yes,
wants to
if anybody wants to help develop content for this.
or speak. 'Cause
Or
it-
speak,
I'll speak a little bit, but
Where is
I'm
the
willing to
conference?
help
it's at
too.
UIC Forum. It's a biannual event, so it's every 2 years, and it's very highly attended from every organization in the conservation community. There's thousands and thousands of people that show up to this conference, and it's really a conference that inspires, that educates. I've been to the conference, I think 3 times now, probably 3 times, and you just walk away, learning and
Godsmack.
just unbelievable. Really.
We'll send you the link
the
to the
keynote
conference.
speaker, they always have such an amazing keynote speaker. The 1 year I went, it was Doug Tallamy. Last year it was Bill Kleiman from Nutrisa Grasslands. It just really
Well,
great
I've
event.
attended as well, and this really, it's kind of the who's who of, all things nature in northeastern Illinois. And, it's just phenomenal what you walk away from, and ideas and a lot of things that
So
we
many
took away
ideas.
that we're
I took away
incorporating
so
here.
much from that conference,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
much. I was one of those people sitting there listening to these people speak, thinking, my gosh, what can I do? Before all of this even started, I was sitting there thinking, and your mind is reeling and coming up with ideas from what these people are telling you and teaching you. And so our hope is that, if there's someone out there that also feels passionately about something and they want to do something, that maybe they can
Well, I could
get
help.
ideas
I
and
could help
tools.
too, maybe talking about the PR aspects and
Mhm.
like doing press releases, things like
Mhm.
that, where it helps them to get
Yeah.
awareness of their group as well.
Yeah, we can all have a little
Yeah.
section, a little part. It's 30 minutes, which is a long time.
It's not a long time.
Depends.
It's not. It may
When
sound
she's on
like
the
that.
spot,
Yeah.
it's a week and a half.
Yeah.
But if we could each have a few minutes to talk about certain things, and so we just have to sort of figure out how, it's coming up, I mean, it's February 18th.
Yep.
So it's not a lot of time. And the other thing that came up also doesn't give us a lot of time. And I had previously mentioned that at the last meeting, I had told all of you that one of the science teachers had reached out about giving a presentation to MacArthur Middle School, 6th graders. And so they were trying to organize it so that we go to several of the science classes. But then they decided it would be easier to get everybody together into an auditorium and to just have us present to 200 students.
So guess what we're doing?
So that's what we're doing.
When are you doing that?
February 3rd. She called me yesterday, and I talked to her on the phone for an hour, and we discussed everything. And so we're going to be doing it in the Little Theater in MacArthur, and there's going to be 200 6th graders on February 3rd from 8:45 to 9:30 in the morning.
Tough crowd.
What day is that?
That's a Friday morning.
Can we attend, even though we're not a
No, yeah,
sixth
you
grader?
can speak too. You can speak. You can do anything. Absolutely. You can.
Tap dance?
Yeah, the presentation needs to be worked on. Anything at all. I had some sort of, so they want us to talk about invasive and native plants, and the students right now are going through learning about food webs, and they had a little bit of they were talking about photosynthesis, and the whole thing got brought up because they had a lab with Elodia. And so one of their substitutes had mentioned that there was an Elodia overgrowth at the lake, and then they started talking about us, and then this is how this all started. So they want us to talk about invasive native plants, and then but also how that impacts the ecosystem and the balance of the ecosystem, and then also how it impacts the food web and all of that.
Have lots of pictures.
Tons of pictures, yes.
Mhm.
There are
And we have a couple of really good, short, very short videos.
Right, so
Yeah.
there is a
About
series that I watched when I was taking classes at the Morton Arboretum that are just so emotionally charged, and they just show so beautifully the interaction of like plants and insects together, and how they have evolved over thousands of years, and how they really depend and I mean, one can't live without the other. And these are just beautiful graphic images. I don't know if anybody knows David Attenborough, Planet Earth, BBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did this series of these plant videos years ago, like probably 30 years ago. They're only on VHS. They don't exist anymore. You can't find them anywhere. I found them because our plant ecologist from Morton Arboretum showed one. He brought in a big VHS and showed this video to us, and I was so taken aback by those images of those interactions with plants and the insects. So I have the whole series, and Ed is turning them into DVDs.
Well, I have them in MP4 format right now, which
Okay.
I'll give to you tonight.
Oh,
And then
great.
the DVDs are proving a little more difficult than
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
just
thought.
give me the image.
But I think the
Yeah.
MP4s
Oh,
will be
yeah.
what you'll need to work with
Absolutely.
anyways.
Right.
So I want to go through those and pick out just a few minutes, because they're 6th graders too. I don't know how they're going to sit through 30 minutes, 45 minutes of talking about native and invasive plants. I want to make it interesting. So if you have these little snippets of these really great images, I can sort of make them sit back and say, whoa, I didn't know that, or
Mhm.
that's really great, or
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I had no idea, you know?
Mhm.
And so we have a couple of those, and then we just have to put together the presentation, and then we have to have a speaker. I can speak for a little bit, but not, I don't know, not in front of two.
You did awesome at Morton Arboretum.
Yeah,
Are you going to
Getting
give out
better.
any freebies to the kids?
it's a good idea.
Stickers or,
That's a good idea. We have to think about that. Any ideas that you have for the next?
Yeah, that'd be
Are those
So-
seed packets still an option?
no,
No,
the kids
okay.
wanna know the value of it, I don't think.
Well, they might after
Okay.
the talk, but it would be hard to
Right.
organize that, and we have everything already.
If you had insects to hand to them, they might be more
Yeah.
interested in insects.
We have everything already, like every ounce is accounted for. It would be difficult to
Yeah.
distribute the ounces back into seed packets. But it's just a really great opportunity to empower a young generation of kids. I mean, that's such a great age.
Mhm.
They think so
Mhm.
much about everything at that age, and to really understand sort of the earth that they live in, what that means. And I mean, even their teacher didn't completely understand like invasives. She said, well, you talk about alien plants, and alien, I mean, it's a term that's just sort of thrown around, but not all plants that come from other places are invasive. You know, we have tons of plants that aren't, but just to understand the damage that invasive plants and the importance of nature and native plants and that coexistence and how species really depend on these things. I don't think a lot of kids know that, so. Just have to formulate it in a way that's exciting and interesting, and that'll have them just glued to their seats
Future
for 45
volunteers.
minutes. And future, yes, and we have to plug, of course, our work days. Absolutely.
Can you relate any of this to what they have in their own backyard?
Yes, and the teacher actually suggested that we should, that we could use examples maybe of areas around here or how that's made a difference. We can use the slough as an example, and the birds and the eagle, or some other areas that are local, because then they can feel that sort of, that they're part of that area instead of from far away. Any ideas over the next couple of weeks? Like just if you have any idea, like you're sitting there eating breakfast and you have an idea, like it would be good to say this, or it would be good to show this, or it would be good to just throw them out,
You're all absolutely welcome to come join us.
especially talk, speak.
I don't know if I wanna talk,
All right, let's move on.
Alright,
Winter work projects.
I don't know what to say about that other than,
I don't know why it's on there.
no, I don't know, but.
Isn't that encompassing of our other?
Yeah, it is
Yes.
encompassing, but
There
one,
it is.
one thing I wanted to mention that just came up today, the Morton Arboretum throws out a Community Trees email listing with grant funding opportunities, and then Joe Wade forwarded that to us too. I get that as well, and then I forwarded on to Christina because there's a possibility, there's a 5-star in urban waters restoration grant that's offered through also offered through the National Fish and Wildlife Federation, just like the last one we applied for.
Mhm.
And it's due end of January. It's sort of the same. I feel like there's a lot of things going on right now.
Yeah.
But it might not be that difficult because we have the template already. If we just resubmit the grant, we resubmit the exact same grant that we had for the other one, it might not be that much work. We don't have to do everything all over again.
Yeah.
So it's worth a thought.
Yeah,
It's less of a grant. It's like average
Christine
$30,000.
and
So we have
Agnes
to
and I
modify
talked
it.
about it today, and I think, my opinion is that if we've got all this boilerplate, we've got the basic matrix of these grants, and we just keep throwing them out there, man, I want that project to go really bad.
Somerset Park.
Somerset
Mhm.
Park, and,
But it would have to be just a limited portion of it, because it's only for $30,000. But
Mhm.
maybe that's like shoreline stabilization, buffer removal, and
right,
planting some, I don't know.
right, so we
Have
will
to
look
think
at
about
that
it, yeah.
and, see if we can make that happen.
And reach out to everybody too, for your ideas, but it's a 30,000 grant. I'm not sure, I have to look, I haven't even looked at it yet, but there might be a
When you
matching
find
portion.
it, when you see the link, can you send it to everybody?
I'll send it to everybody, so you guys can all take a look at it and kind of take it apart and see what you think are ideas. Because we would have to change it, because the other grant was a big grant. This is
Mhm.
only for 30,000. There might be a match component though.
Right.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds worthwhile to pursue, yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So that would be that. Anything else?
Visitor comments?
We're always looking for content for the cable channels.
Oh. Will we
Okay.
get a minute?
You know, the Park District is going to be soliciting an agency within the probably next month or two. We're putting together a request for proposal to solicit the agency to come out and help us with the master plan, the comprehensive master plan. The current one just finished,
Okay.
so it'll be a 5-year plan. And it definitely will be open up to the public for comment.
Mhm.
But this group would probably be very good to be thinking about the park piece of it, like when we're talking about Somerset Park and that kind of
Right.
thing.
Mhm.
Any sort of projects that, you know, we can think about long-term,
Mm-hmm.
start thinking, and I'll get back to you probably by March, we would have
Okay.
someone ready to go. And then, so probably by summer, when everyone's really busy.
Okay.
Mhm.
So try to look for more land to convert to natural areas.
Like School Street Park?
Yeah. But I mean, it's a good, you know, not promising that it'll be put in there, but I think it's an
Right.
excellent time to,
Yeah.
you know, make sure that we have resources to put towards it, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Starts with a plan.
Yep.
Yep.
Where is Somerset Park? How come I'm not picturing it?
Schoenbeck and Palatine
Oh,
going
right,
north
right,
by the
right.
tennis courts.
The
Right.
big open land
Yeah,
of
like
turf
By
grass
the church
by
in
the
the
creek.
corner.
The
Yeah.
creek.
The
13
Grace
acres
Lutheran-
of
No,
turf
Our
grass.
Savior
Our
Lutheran
Redeemer?
Church.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
And then
yes.
just like the acres
Down below
acres
it.
of grass.
To the
That
Creek.
church, because I'm doing the history project at the library, has been here, I think, since when the town started in 37.
Hmm.
Really go-getters.
You need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Do you have the time?
No argument
8:20.
here.